Welcome to the world of GamerZone. I'm Meredith O'Donnell.
And I'm David Sickman. Today we'll be discussing Heroes of Might and Magic 5. First off, we're going to be hitting some of the game news. First little bit is about teenage violence. Now, one of the things that's been purported many times recently is a connection between video games and teen violence. Well, the Department of Justice has just released its new report on teen violence, which indicates that teen violence is actually down to its lowest point on record. So, if there's a connection between teen violence and video games, which I don't believe there is, then,
I don't know where they're getting their information because
Exactly.
if it's going down.
So while I can understand the concept that we need, the SRB to provide ratings guides and things like this, a lot of the laws that have been attempted to be passed and failed recently have been all keyed around the idea that teen violence is caused by video games, by violent behavior that appears in games like Mortal Kombat, Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, Counter-Strike, all these things.
What's the auto? Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto? Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
But there appears not to be such a connection. Time will tell, and it's going to take a little bit more work, so you can pretty much take this however you really want to. But if you want to look at the Justice Department's report, you can go hit their website, and they've got it right on there.
All right. Well, I want to talk about WoW because that's where I spend most of my time.
You're completely addicted. That's why.
Burning Crusade has come out with some new information on what's going to be coming up, and I play a shaman on the Horde side because that's the only place you can play a shaman. Well, not anymore. As soon as Burning Crusade comes out, the new Alliance character, which is, pronounce it for me because I can't remember.
I think it's the Draenei.
Draenei?
I think so. I don't know.
The Draenei will be able to play shamans. And on the flip side, the Blood Elves will be able to play paladins, which have been only on the Alliance side until
now.
Until this comes out.
Until this comes out. Of course, which means that both sides will now still be complaining that the other side is overpowered because of the paladins or the shamans, or now because the Draenei or the Blood Elves. There's always complaining about that. Luckily, both sides can't talk to each other.
And of course, WoW is the destruction of PC games. That's the other big news that's come out.
Yeah, basically what some developers are starting to say, and a good example of this is Iron Lore Entertainment President Brian Sullivan. And if you're wondering what Brian Sullivan's done, Titan Quest that just come out recently, which is kind of a Diablo knockoff, sort of. I wouldn't call it. I'm sure I'd want to call it a knockoff, but it's definitely an homage to Diablo 2. His comment, and this is a direct quote, is for retail PC games, I think the biggest problem is World of Warcraft. He was talking about sales because it's, quote, is such a compelling MMO game that it sucks up a lot of money and time that would normally be spent on other retail PC games. Well, if you look at the sales out there with 6.5 million subscribers, it is easy to see where they're taking a lot of the money off the table. People are spending $15 a month now on World of Warcraft rather than going out and buying a new game every 2 to 3 months. I mean, let's see, how long
I've heard many people say that they specifically do that because before they were buying games once every couple of months for $50, $60, and now it's cheaper to do the $15 a month. So, he's got a point there a little bit, I suppose.
I think so too.
But everything goes in cycles.
I agree with that also. I mean, let's face it, 5 years from now, where's World of Warcraft going to be? It probably won't be nearly as popular.
Something new and bigger will come out, and they'll be complaining that it's sucking up the PC world and everything's going to go downhill. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because PC games have been going to die since the beginning of PC games.
Right.
Which brings up Mark Rain. Mark Rain, for those who don't know, is with Epic. Epic does Unreal Tournament, Unreal, a whole series of games. Unreal is also used on other consoles for other games, things like that. Mark Rain, at a recent conference, was saying how Intel was killing PC gaming. His reasoning was that because the Intel graphics chipset that comes default on a lot of machines is horrible for games. It really is truly horrid. You can't run anything modern on an Intel graphic chipset. And we're not talking about the processor, like you're thinking, the Intel dual core processors, things like that. They're just fine. It's the graphics card, what's essentially the graphics card on there, that's the problem. The problem I had with his statement.
Buy a new card.
Buy a new card. You can go to Walmart to buy an NVIDIA or ATI card these days. If you're into games, you're going to buy something that's specific to it.
Yeah, that's not going to stop you from playing games. Nobody's going to say, oh, well, this is a bad card. I'm not going to play anymore.
Yeah, because, I can't afford the $50 to...
Yeah,
which is the price of a new game anyway.
Makes no sense.
So, yeah, I'm not necessarily buying it. But this kind of repeats a bit of history, which is throughout pretty much the history of console games. The death of games has been coming for a long time. Throughout the history of PC, and before that, Commodore 64 and all those, games have always been on the verge of collapse. One reason or another, a new technology, people are moving over to consoles, people are moving away from consoles, things like this. There's always somebody saying gaming is going to die. It's still a stronger and stronger industry all the time. The other comment that Mark Rain made was about episodic gaming. Well, Half-Life 2's episodes are out and more of them coming. Sin episodes. Sam & Max is shipping this way. There's a ton of developers looking at the episodic format.
This was the same day, right?
Same conference.
Yeah, same conference.
Yeah.
So he had that big black cloud over his head. Rains. When it rains, it pours.
I knew it. You couldn't resist
I
putting that in
can't
there
resist.
somewhere.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should have seen this before the show. 15 minutes of nothing but plays on Mark's Rain's names. Anyways, he kind of says that episodic gaming is a no-go type thing. That we're going to be, what the players are really going to be dealing with is the same scenario and the same graphics and the same stuff over and over.
What does he deal with again?
That would be Unreal. Oh, you were
Same
talking about that whole
scenario.
same game, same graphics the whole time?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
The thing is, this is already the state of games. We're so used to sequels that at least if they were coming faster and we felt like we were getting more value out of it, I think it would be better off.
I think he was just having a bad day.
I think so too.
Guitar Hero is getting some competition. Konami, which has a game called Guitar Freaks in the Japanese market, is coming to America. They're going to call it something different, Guitar Revolution. But that means that we could have some good competition going, so that
Which is cool.
review that we did, the
It's even
things
better.
that we didn't like, we may have an opportunity to, get some of those things fixed, get more songs.
That would definitely be handy.
Also on the second version of Guitar Hero 2,
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking about coming out with the 360, is that right?
Yes.
On the 360?
Yeah, keep in mind it's unsubstantiated rumor at the moment, but a pretty exciting rumor, because if they do it with the 360, one of the big parts about the 360 is the Xbox Live Arcade market, the market for selling more songs, things like that. Mm-hmm. So we could have a Guitar Heroes game where, every couple of months we might see updates and more stuff. I'd love a great, set of blues tracks, for instance. And if all you had to do was download them and buy them off of Microsoft's site, I'd be all for it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
This could be a very good thing.
Yes. Quake Wars was expected to be towards the end of this year. No, sometime 2007. This is the latest installment of the Quake series, and honestly, I don't mind if it's late. Make it right. I'd rather it be right than buggy and like has been many games in recent history.
Neverwinter Nights is also going to be late with their next installment. Is that?
Yeah.
I believe that's correct. Neverwinter Nights.
Sometime in October, rather
Which
than.
is okay, because I love that game, and I would be very upset if it came out badly.
So if it comes out, will you actually play it rather than WoW for a while?
Oh,
Or is
2
it gonna
minutes
be
here
both?
and there, maybe. I don't know. That could be hard.
But I gotta agree, guys, get them right rather than getting them rushed out to market. Don't give us buggy stuff. And if it takes a couple extra months, who cares?
We'll wait.
Yeah, exactly. And the market will wait for it too. Speaking of waiting, Activision's saying that Transformers is going to be coming out with a game the same time that Transformers the movie comes out in mid-2007.
Which gives them, what, 12 months to get a game that they don't have any screenshots or any. So they're going to release the movie and the game at the same time.
Yeah.
That is an excellent idea. I wonder, I think Superman Returns, that would have been really great for that, don't you?
She might be a little sarcastic on this. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But she's right. And the other thing is there's no screenshots available of it yet. There's actually no information available yet. It's 12 months from now that this game's going to be coming out, so
I'm not really holding my breath.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2 Valve just put on to Steam the trailer for Team Fortress 2. It's not very often I get excited about the trailer for a game. Oddly enough, Superman Returns was the last one I got excited about. Team Fortress Classic has been around for ages. It's looking extremely dated. And I figured, hey, when they do the update, it's going to look a lot like Half-Life and Quake does. Oh, no. No, they went style with it.
It looks like The Incredibles is what it looks
yes. It is cool. In fact, here at the end of the news, we're just going to show you the trailer. Take a look at it and see what you think yourself. It is completely different than you've seen in a first-person shooter, period. And I've got to give them all sorts of credit for doing something with style and differentiating themselves.
And when does that come out?
No date yet. Too bad.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just kind of wait it out and see.
We're doing a lot of waiting.
Yeah, I noticed that.
All right.
Still waiting on Superman Returns. And that's the news.
Forget punching monkeys. Forget boring banner ads. Forget pop-up windows. Your customers have already forgotten. Let Midnight Rider Productions move you into the future of internet advertising. We provide placement in our existing product lineup for advertisements, production services for online video advertising, and for cable and television advertising. Don't let your customers forget you. Remember Midnight Rider Productions.
Welcome back to the World of Gamer Zone.
Now, what you might not realize is that World of Gamer Zone is actually shot down at Gamer Zone Centers. It's at 817 West Douglas here in Wichita, Kansas, down in the Delano District. And if you're kind of wondering, what is Gamer Zone? Well, it's a gaming center. People come in, sit down, play games. We've got 8-foot wide projection screens, PCs, Xboxes, the whole 9 yards. It's open from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 a.m. every day. So needless to say, if you're one of those people who are out late and want something to do, we're here for you. So stop on by, check it out. And now for our review of Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Heroes of Might and Magic 5 is actually developed by Niveal and is published by Ubisoft. It's $50 for the normal package and $60 for the collector's edition. Now, if you're kind of curious what's extra in the collector's edition, one of the biggest things that's in there is Heroes of Might and Magic 3 and 4 are both in there also. A quick little overview of our review system. We break down our reviews into 4 categories: graphics, sound, gameplay, and value. These are all on a 1 to 10 scale. And then we also put the 5th stat because everybody wants something easy to go by, which is basically we take all those numbers together and give you a total review score. Start off with, needless to say, Heroes of Might and Magic has been around for ages now.
I've been a fan for ages. So,
Yeah. Oddly enough, I've never been a huge fan of it. I think they're good games, but I was always more along the lines of Warlords and a number of other ones that are existed out there. But both of us have played a ton of these. Graphics, we gave it an 8.0. There are some issues currently with this version. On the machine I was running on, meets the minimum specs, not a problem. However, I can find all sorts of spots where the game will lag in it. It bogs down the frame rate here and there. Don't listen to the minimum specs.
You got to admit, though, I mean, they've way surpassed their last installment. I mean, the graphics are really nice. They've done a lot with them.
If you take a look at, like, heck, even just something as simple as the trees, the camera system, being able to scroll in, you know, to scroll down and take a look at it at a different angle.
Much more.
Yes, and it looks fabulous. I did have some issues with the graphics, though, both positive and negative. One of the negatives that I saw in there was they have a lot of cutscenes in there to provide background for the story and things like this. And you'll see the most interesting things. People talking and their lips not moving. Needless to say, this is extremely distracting. I don't know why the little bit of extra effort wasn't put forth for it, but they didn't. And it's just annoying. It really is. In this day and age.
It's a small detail. There was no reason why they couldn't have added that.
Yeah. Now, granted, maybe I'm spoiled by things like Half-Life 2 where, you know, they put so much effort into showing the emotion of characters and stuff like this. There's a scene towards the beginning of the very first scenario where they're talking about how one of the characters was acting a little abnormally. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between if the character was acting normally or not because it's completely stone-faced.
But when you think about, like when you go into a town and they kind of give you this 360, you know, going around whatever town it is, Haven or the Necro town, whatever town it is, they kind of do this 360 going around and showing all of the different sides to it. It looks really cool.
Yes.
I really like it. And you'd think these same people who put this little detail in that didn't have to be there, why didn't they do the same thing with the lips moving? It's just, it's inconsistent. I don't really know why they did that.
And I agree with that entirely. The combat system's kind of interesting. The game actually breaks down into two separate areas, an overland map area and a combat map. The combat map is kind of neat. One of the things that's a little bit different in this game is a bar at the bottom that shows what's called initiative. Basically, who gets to move which turn. And it shows whose turn it is, whose turn it's going to be. It's actually very handy for planning out your turns because you can see this guy's going to move, this guy's going to move, now the enemy's going to move here, then your turn to move here.
It's a picture. It's an actual picture of the troop.
Exactly. And it's very handy. It's a very slick way of doing it. Now, I will say, after looking at the overland map, when you look at the combat map itself is actually fairly blah, but it needs to be. Honestly, they did a good job by not putting a ton of work into it because most of the combat maps are flat, mostly featureless terrain. But because of that, they throw a grid down on top of it. You can see where your pieces are going to move. It works great.
They have tried to match the feature, though. I've noticed there have been many times when I've been moving my hero along and you'd see like a log in the road, and then when you went into the combat, there would be a log in that picture. So they did try to match it up to make it seem a little more realistic.
One of the things I found kind of interesting is that none of the cutscenes are pre-rendered. They're done through the engine itself, which of course does bring about that whole the lips not moving thing. But the thing I thought was unique was, again, starting at the very beginning of the game, there's a scene where you have both sides, the good side and the evil side, going at it. Instead of it just being a mass melee, they actually put it in context to the game system's combat system, where this group took their turn, this group took their turn, and back and forth it went. It was unique, it was different, but it also meant you didn't cause expectations that, oh, this is real-time combat.
It gives you the flavor of the game.
Exactly. Sound, we gave it a 9.0. Now, while I had quite a few nagging details about the graphics, the sound is excellent. Good music tracks, good sound effects, great detail level. There is, to do all of their cut scenes, there is a ton of voice acting done, and surprisingly not as stiff as I've seen in a lot of games.
I know this is a little detail, but I really like that when I move my character, if I'm playing one of the heroes that's on a horse, you have just the tiny little horse sounds. But if I'm playing one of the heroes that's on this big beast, it has a big booming sound when it's walking. Or if they're just walking, not riding any kind of a mount, you hear the footsteps. It's just a tiny thing, but it's little things like that that catch my attention.
I agree with you. Gameplay. We gave it a 6.5. Now, I did say at the beginning, I'm not a huge fan of the Heroes of Might and Magic series. I've played, I think, all of them. I'm not positive. I may have missed the first one.
I didn't miss the first one. I was one of the suckers that bought the big package, the one that has the Heroes 3 and 4 instead of just the Heroes 5. I had to have the
Don't you already own Heroes 3?
collector's edition. I had to have the collector's edition.
Yeah, but don't you already own those?
Well, yeah, but they said that they updated some stuff, so I had to buy it.
Gameplay itself, though, we gave it a 6.5 because of problems with player difficulty levels, for instance. Her husband put it best, that the AI for the Heroes of Might and Magic series tends to be one end or the other, which is basically either the AI is so simplistic and you just boil through it, or on the other end, the AI overcompensates and suddenly what should be a fairly simple scenario turns into just
A nightmare.
wow.
It's crazy. And there should have been an easy. There's normal and then 2 other stages. I can't remember what they're called, but I needed something a little simpler because I got so frustrated trying to play. I'm in the middle of this scenario where I can understand the end fight, the end section that you have to do being hard. But when you're in the middle and it's too hard for you to finish, you kind of get frustrated.
Yep. And I think that's one of the things about it. This game is really geared more towards the hardcore players rather than the casual players that are looking for an interesting title to pick up. If you're a heavy-duty real-time strategy or turn-based strategy player, you'll probably enjoy this. If you're not, I don't think you'll really enjoy this as much as a lot of other games that have been out on the markets before. I also had a couple of little nagging details with things like, for instance, there's not technically a tutorial. Yes, they have tutorial tool tips that occur during the game.
During the first scenario, or the first section.
During the first section. But it's not quite the same as actually having a tutorial. The other thing is, oddly enough, I found the tooltips tutorials very annoying because of the way that they worked. I start moving my character, I click where I want to go, hit spacebar, it moves 3 steps, and suddenly it
Gives you a
stops
message.
to give me a tooltip. Oh, that's nice. Click, spacebar, 3 more steps, tooltip. Okay, that's really annoying. There's also one of the things that Heroes of Might and Magic has been classically good at is a heck of a lot of maps to play on. Because you start off with, there's the campaign mode where you start at the beginning of a story, play it all the way through the end. By the way, you also end up playing the bad guys at one point. There's also the skirmish mode. Basically, you pop in, pick a map that you want to play on, kick on through it, and call it good.
I did that a lot, especially if I just wanted to play for a little while. There are small maps, medium maps, large maps. You can pick whatever you wanted to play, pick how many players you wanted to play against, or computer players that you wanted to play against. I did that a lot in the previous versions. I have not done that a lot in this one because...
Not enough maps.
Yeah.
Now, they did just add 2 more maps into their last
2,
package.
though. I've had this game forever. 2 maps they added.
Yeah. And I got to admit, that seems a little weak. One of the other strong points the game's normally had is a map editor. What map editor?
Sometime this summer.
Yeah. Basically, there's a map editor coming. but without a map editor, without more maps, it seems a little lean on content. Now, one of the things that we were going to talk about is some of the bugs that we ran into. Oddly enough, when we were sitting down and talking with it, was the same day that they ended up releasing a patch, the 1.02 patch for it, which actually tended to fix a number of the bugs that we
They
had.
addressed them. I thought that was great.
Yeah, which I'm always happy to see a company that is quick to address their bugs, to fix this stuff up. Value. We gave the game a 7.5. I think the price is one of the reasons for a 7.5 is I thought the price for a normal package was a bit high at $50. Now, as she pointed out, the $60 collector's edition actually was quite a bit better of a deal because essentially you're getting 3 games. And let's face it, Heroes of Might and Magic 3 and 4 have plenty of maps to work with.
Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker, so okay. They would have gotten a higher number had it been on a Mac.
Yes. The 7.5 is also reflective of the fact that, honestly, if you're a fan of Heroes of Might and Magic, you're going to love this.
Heroes of Might and Magic, yeah.
Overall, that makes the total for this game to be a 7.75.
For those parents out there, this is the ESRB rating is T for teen. What it says is there's blood, there's fantasy violence, there's mild language, and strong themes. I don't actually remember blood. I'm sure they must have found it somewhere.
You know, I thought about that a minute. I remember one of the spots I saw it is if you're on the combat map and certain characters versus certain other characters, you'll see a blood splatter when they hit each other with swords.
Okay.
For instance, if your hero does the rush in and whacks one of them, you'll see a blood splatter from it. It's not particularly gory in any way.
No, I'm thinking the suggestive themes would be the succubi,
Yeah,
female characters.
scantily clad
Yeah.
female characters.
So, but overall, I think I'd let my 14-year-old play it. So I don't think she wants to, but I'd let her play it.
And that's our review of Heroes of Might and Magic 5. If you pick it up, I hope you really enjoy it.
That's it for the World of Gamers Zone this week. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.